Hello, today I will be reading Canary by Cloud9 and 3/4. Midoriya Izuku is quirkless. Well, he thought he was. That was until he opened his mouth to sing. There is more power in Midoriya's singing than he could ever dreamed of. A power truly worthy of a hero. But will he ever have the confidence to spread his wing and soar? Chapter 1. The Bird Who Was Afraid to Fly. President Mike's radio show. Tuesday and Thursday from 6:30 to 7:30. Canary's hour. President Mike. Yeah! Canary. Yay. President Mike. It's 6:30 and we all know what that means. I should be doing my homework. Yeah! Oh, wait, that's not what you're supposed to say. Are you actually doing your homework? Well, someone said as a massive English essay. You're fluent in English. I thought would be acceptable to leave until the last minute for precisely that reason. But then I remembered it's due on a Friday. Therefore, leaving it until the last minute would mean I had to do it on a Thursday evening. And here we are. Okay, are you actually going to... Almost finished. What's it on again? You were the one who said it. I have a lot on my shoulders and... Whatever you say, cockatoo. Yes, thank you, Siren. But if you poop on my work again, I will disown you. I think I need a pet bird too. Pet is not an insult. I repeat, pet was not an insult. I think Siren has an intelligence quirk. She's way too smart for her own good. I mean, I need a bird companion too. Finished. Can I hand it now? No, because I will lose it guaranteed. Anyway, moving on, we have a show to get to. First things first, as always, let us begin with our weekly talk with one of you listeners. I know what you guys are plotting, and I swear I will hang up. I'm just going to pretend I didn't hear that, and let's see if our listeners pick up. Hello? Yeah, you've made it all the way to our radio show. Great, so Midoriya, oh my god, Jiro, I literally just said, yeah, whatever. So anyway, what was the English essay on? You know what? In punishment, I'm not going to tell you. Okay, someone in the radio station is putting you through every time any of you guys call. And that someone, Siren, will find you and make your life a living hell. Well, you get one question that is not school-related, Jiro. Sure. Canary. Why? You could have chosen literally any other bird name out there, and you went for Canary. Why? Oh, that's an easy one. Let me tell you a story. In a tradition dating back to 1911, Canaries were the heroes of the underground, known for the capture of the silent killer and for being savers of countless lives, all because of their singing. Deep in the coal mines where men were hard at work, chipping away at the stone walls in search of black gold, hanging from the ceiling were tiny cages, each inhabited with a little bird, a canary. The canaries would sing and sing, for it was all they knew. Trapped in that tiny box, incapable of flight, all they could do was sing. And so they sang. They sang the little hearts out, finding a melody within the rhythm beat of the miners' picks. As they hit the walls, desperate to find the fuel that would keep the cities alive and running. There were times when the miners would live for the singing of the canaries, a gentle reminder of the world above, of the morning sun and the kind world they learned to love that little bit more as they spent so much time away from it. And so, when the singing stops, it's not hard to notice. The miners look up at the ceiling and see the birds collapse in their cages. No sounds no longer whistling from their throats. Carbon monoxide, the silent killer. The gas binds blood instead of oxygen, a permanent fashion, meaning no matter how much oxygen a person inhales, it would not satisfy them. It would never reach their cells and would die quickly, drifting off into an endless sleep. There are several reasons that the canaries were killed by the gas. Therefore, the miners, the first was the chemical makeup for a bird's blood. Whilst the human's red blood cells are formed from the stem cells in the bone marrow, a bird simply replicate themselves in the bloodstream. This means poison cells cannot be replaced like they can in a human body. However, the more potent reason is the size of a canary. So small, so fragile, less blood means more blood can be poisoned at a faster rate, meaning they drop dead before the miners. And so leaving their little bodies in the cages of the birds deep in the mines, the men were evacuated before the gas can kill them too. The sweet sound of a bird song, or the lack of thereof, being the only reason that their descendants will walk this earth today. 2 years earlier, before the radio show, Midoriya sighed as he closed his book. He was procrastinating learning about the things he really didn't need to learn about, but when did that ever stop him? Anyway, all this talk of canaries in the mines was far more interesting than any of the other facts he should have been committing to his mind. He was supposed to be going over his history work. He was far ahead of the rest of the class, but one of the things he could never have known for sure was what was to be on UA's entrance exam, and he could never be too careful. He needed to get into the general studies. UA was his first step too. He glanced up at the posters of All Might looming over his computer. He had taken the rest of them down, but he couldn't bring himself to completely free his room of memorabilia, and so the poster remained. Becoming a hero? No. It was a childish dream, and it was about time he gave up and wished for a quirk in your next life, and took a swan dive off the roof of the building, and focus more on a realistic goal. It's good to have dreams, but make sure they're attainable. Izuku! Midoriya jumped, almost falling from his chair. Can I come in, Izuku? He didn't say anything, so his mother let his door creak open. Still studying? He frowned. Inko carried a bowl of ramen into his room and slid it in front of him. She pulled a chair and sat to eat her own bowl beside him. It took a moment, but eventually he picked up the chopsticks and began to eat too. If you overwork yourself or won't be able to perform as well as I know you can in the exam tomorrow, his mother insisted. I'm sorry, Mom, Midoriya said in an impossibly quiet voice. It was almost a miracle his mother had heard him at all. Your brain is much like any of the other muscles. You wouldn't go for a run before a marathon. Why should we do the same for an exam? Your brain needs rest. Midoriya smiled meekly and nodded. Good. If you can't sleep, do something different. Play one of your instruments. I don't mind what time of night it is. Oh, as long as it's not the drums. Midoriya almost laughed. The smile was good enough for his mom. Maybe you could even sing. You know, I don't think I have ever heard you sing before. At least not in a long time. You should give it a try. He shook his head frantically, almost losing the noodles halfway into his mouth. Why not, Izuku? You were so unsure about dance class at first, but that turned out to be really fun, remember? Singing's different, he protested, his full voice still quiet as a mouse. Why is that? Because to sing I have to first talk. Inko sighed. She put down her chopsticks gently and rubbed her son's shoulder. You will get into UA, sure you will, and once you're there, you'll make lots of new friends. They won't be like the other people at your old school. This is a hero school, and even if you're not on the hero course, no one there is going to say anything about your quirklessness. And if they do, just tell one of the teachers, and they will sort the problem out. Teachers are heroes, remember? You used to love heroes so much. You can't become a hero. She gazed up at the remaining All-Might poster. Things are going to be different, she insisted, as if she was convincing herself of the fact. And then maybe talking won't be so scary. Quirkless, useless, mute. But he wasn't mute. Really, Midoriya could talk if he wanted to, but it was just so much easier for him to fade into the background, not to argue or complain. They pick on him less. He knew his place now. Quiet, silent, but then that made it worse. He didn't understand why, but eventually his classmate realized he hadn't talked for months, that they didn't remember what his voice sounded like. Katja noticed it too. He found it funny. So funny. And the teachers didn't care. They told him off for not speaking in class or not answering the register in the morning, and suddenly the words became harder and harder to say. Uttering a simple yes or no felt as hard as cracking open a locked safe. His mother took him to a specialist. She said he would speak to her, but anyone else? They told him he was selectively mute. He told them that he just didn't like speaking. That confused them, but nonetheless, Midoriya took the title, hoping his peers would leave him alone now. His shyness had a name. They didn't. You could get their autographs, Inko said suddenly, interrupting his thoughts. What, wouldn't that be nice? Midoriya grunted in reply. He put down his chopsticks. But honey, you've hardly eaten anything. You need brain power. I'll be all right. Inko hesitated. Does that mean you feel prepared? That's wonderful to hear. Now it's 7 o'clock, so a little early to go to bed quite yet. Why don't you play something? The neighbors said they can hear it if you leave the window open. They really like it. Honestly, if you sang a lot, it could help your confidence a little. Maybe one day. Inko smiled at her son, opened the window, and picked up his guitar, tuning it slowly, fiddling with the fret. I'm proud of you, Izuku. You know that, right? He smiled at her. Thank you, Mom. She picked up her empty bowl and her son's roaringly full one, before beginning to walk towards the door as Izuku began to strum a tune. Quick reader's note. This fanfic has songs in them. I can try singing. If you don't like my singing, leave a comment so I can just say the lyrics instead of singing. Tiny Dancer, Elton John. She left his door open to let the music flow through the apartment. A skip in her step and a smile creeping across her face as she threw away the remainder of the food and washed up the bowls. Inko began to hum the melody of the famous song, music drifting through the air and giving the otherwise tedious task a new life and a new rhythm. It gave her such joy to hear her son pour his heart and soul into his music. He loved it more than he had ever loved anything. It gave him a purpose, something to enjoy. He wanted to be a hero all his life, but he was quirkless and had much as Inko wanted to support him. To say, you can be a hero, she just couldn't, because it wasn't the truth. Izuku deserved nothing but the truth. The last 10 months had been hard for him. She didn't understand why, but all of a sudden, that stubborn light of hope that shone so lustrously from him was snuffed out. He stopped talking and focused only on his studies. Consequently, he was so bright that not even that school could put him down. But that brightness just didn't hold the same warmth as it once did. All Inko wanted to do was seem happy again. He was so good at the guitar. He had to stop lessons when the teacher said there was nothing more he could possibly teach him. And Izuku refused to spend money on something that was no longer necessary. He had the same attitude for nearly every instrument he'd ever learned. He knew the guitar, piano, drums, but no instrument that required his mouth to play. Inko wondered if it was because he wanted to sing but refused every time. And the only class he continued to attend was dance. It kept his fitness up, and if it weren't for that, Inko was worried he'd waste away. Looked up his room forever, but the boy had always been drawn to such things. It was like music was a part of him. Not that she supposed it was her husband's influence. She supposed with his quirk fire breath he could never sing without filling the house with smoke. But that never stopped him from when they were younger. He had such a beautiful voice. He told her she wasn't so bad herself. That always made her smile. Inko wondered if Izuku had inherited it. She longed to hear him sing so much and wanted to see if he had. Inko opened the other window across the apartment, letting the sound free from its cage to sing to the rest of the world, even if Izuku wouldn't open his mouth to do the same. His music still brought others joy. It held a certain magic in it. Tiny dancer, he danced to this song once before. It had brought her to tears. Hisashi always said she was such a crier. Inko leaned on the windowsill and gazed out the rest of the world. They were drunks hobbling home arm in arm down the street. As she opened her mouth to sing the chorus, more tears pricked at her eyes. When those drunken souls began to kick at the puddles in the rain and sing along too. Hold me closer, tiny dancer. If only Izuku had the bravery to sing along. His voice could change the world. Inko was sure of it. A canary couldn't save any lives if it refused to sing. This was chapter 1. I hope you liked it. Please leave a comment if I should sing the chorus or if I should speak out the chorus. I hope you have a nice day or night. Goodbye.